All right, so for today's video, it is a continuation of last week's video, part 2. But last week you heard my story about the silent twins, and we already introduced the Zodiac killer, which is the story that Stephanie's going to be talking about. So stay tuned, and Stephanie's going to tell you another story for this week.
Ignore the costume change.
Okay, Stephanie, so please tell us your story.
Okay, so mine is the Zodiac killer, right? So this is the only sketch that they have of him. So basically what had happened was in the late 1960s, right? They had these murders pop up, but they didn't know who it was, right? Police had never known. This is in California. They say that he did at least 5 murders, but they think he did more.
Okay.
But what happened was, just randomly one day, the San Francisco Examiner and the San Francisco Chronicle, they were like newspapers, they got identical letters. And in the letter, it said, "Dear editor, I'm the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman." And then he basically threatened them in the letter, also saying that if they didn't publish it on the front page of the newspaper, that he was going to kill again. And so they're like, So they gave it to the police. Well, at the end of his letters, he would have it with like a symbol. It's like a circle with a cross through it. And that was how he got the name Zodiac Killer, because anytime he had communications with anyone through letters, that symbol was always on it. He would refer to himself as like the Zodiac. So the 2 murders that he was referring to back at Christmas is basically these 2 teenagers, and they were on Lake Herman Road, and he just shot them. But there was no evidence, like any DNA, fingerprints, nothing.
Were they like parked in a car, like doing something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they were doing something.
But I mean,
they were
why
in the
else do you park your car on a deserted road?
Yeah, so that was when like he first started taking claim to murders. But that was like after the fact, because he killed them December 20th of 1968.
Okay.
And he didn't claim it until like they got that letter August 1st of 1969. Yeah, so like took him a while to like be like, okay, y'all aren't catching me, I'm gonna start teasing you, right? So the Bay Area, that's where he was in California, kept trying to figure it out, and then the San Francisco Examiner newspaper got another letter beginning with, "Dear editor, this is the Zodiac speaking," and then described in detail another murder that he did. But he mentioned details that only the killer would know, which is like kind of what grabbed their attention, because a lot of people try to like claim crimes that they didn't do, right? So he started taunting them, and in his letters to the newspapers, he would say like there's a cipher, and each letter is part of the cipher to catch me and like to figure out who I am. Yeah, it was a 3-part cipher, so like the first 2 letters were part 1 of it. So then when he sent the second letter, he like was just taunting them for not cracked the cipher yet. So he's like, bet I'll just like keep killing people until you figure it out. Then days later, this one couple, they were high school teachers, cracked the code. When they cracked the code, they said that the cipher said, "I like killing people because it's so much fun. It's more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." But it doesn't really like give you a clue of like who it is, you know?
Right.
Then the 4th murder was in 1969 as well, and he shot and killed a taxi driver. And then he sent a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle claiming like, "Hey, I killed that taxi driver. These are the details about it," and sent like a little piece of his shirt, like the taxi driver's shirt, in the letter to like also prove like I'm not making this shit up, right?
Yeah.
And then he said at the end of the letter that next he would shoot out a tire on a school bus and then pick the kids off as they were coming off the school bus. Like he's just gonna shoot them. Yeah.
Oh, don't do that.
Yeah, but basically he just kept taunting the Bay Area police and like just kept sending ciphers that they couldn't crack. But he had said he did a lot more murders, but he basically the whole time was just killing people to mock the police. That was like his goal in life. He's like, "Ha, you can't catch me." So one in July of 1969 is again a couple, right? They were 19 and 22. So there's the murder of Darlene and Mike. And they were just sitting in a parked car, same as the other one.
Probably just listening to music and holding hands, nothing else.
Right, nothing. But it was like a similar, like, remote location, kind of like the other one. And then they were approached by a man with a flashlight, and then he fired multiple shots, killing the girl. But then he only seriously wounded the dude. So the dude made the sketch. So they made the sketch, right? But then they didn't know, like, how accurate it was. But then they had a hard time circulating it, so nothing ever came out of it. Okay, so then another one was September of 1969. They struck again, approaching another couple, Cecilia and Byron, as they relaxed on an isolated part of the shore at a lake in California, in Napa County. And then they said he was wearing a hood and a shirt bearing a circle cross symbol, like his little Zodiac symbol.
Yeah.
And he tied them up before brutally stabbing them, scrawling a message for the police on their car door, and then leaving the scene.
Oh my gosh.
And then he called the police department, the Napa Police Department, to claim responsibility of it. And then they were both in critical condition. Emergency services came, but then the girl ended up dying shortly after they came because her wounds were too bad. That was the end of September. So then in October was when he shot the taxi driver and then claimed responsibility for the taxi driver. So he had at least 5 murders, they say. But they, like, never were able to catch him, like, the whole time. Then they just stopped. So it, like, posed the question, like, did he move? Because, like, back at that time, like, police departments weren't really communicating with each other, like, across the country. So they're like, did he move? Did he die? Did he just somehow stop killing people? Like, they don't know what happened. So, like, there's a lot of things that people, they make up their own theories, right? So some people think it was the Unabomber, and then some people think it was Charles Manson. But, like, there's just no evidence of it, and they never claimed it. There's, like, a list of people. Like, one true crime author said that he thought it was this dude named Arthur Lee Allen. So he thought it was him, that he was a likely suspect, and then Allen died in 1992, but he never was able to be connected to the murders. Then another one, so Earl Van Best Jr., so his son, Earl Van Best Jr.'s son, wrote a book saying that his dad was the killer and that he matched the sketch. And so, like, they've said, like, yes, he does match the sketch pretty well, but there's just still no evidence to go off of.
Right.
So they never arrested him or anything. Then this other man came forward to reveal that his friend named Louis Myers had confessed to the killers before he died in 2002. And they were able to prove that, like, some of his history matched the timeline. Like, he was in those areas at those times, but there was still no conclusive proof. So basically, they have no idea who did it. Some people have, like, theories where, you know, you could say, like, okay, maybe, like, thinking maybe it was the Unabomber or Charles Manson. But then one person said that he thinks the Zodiac killer eventually moved to Scotland, committed more murders there, and then found happiness and gave up his wicked ways. The likelihood of that,
like, there's no way that they could have just stopped. Like, you can't be murdering people all the time and then all of a sudden just be like, you know what, I think I'm good.
He kind of reminded me of the Netflix series Don't Fuck with Cats. It reminded me of that, where, like, he started taking claim of it because he wanted the publicity. Maybe he was like that and he wanted to be famous. He kept killing because he was just getting angry that it wasn't his face on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe he moved somewhere, finally got caught, or somebody killed him.
There's, like, a couple serial killers around the country that they think might be that same person. But yeah, again, there's no, like, evidence, and nobody's ever really come forward and been, like, was able to prove that they were. If
you're that, like, skilled of a hunter, you know how to kill things. So why is it that you're letting some people live?
Yeah, so, like, do you think that he let them live, or do you think that he thought that they would die?
The one that he, like, called the police right after in, like, Napa County, I think he let him live. And wanted to torture the police with thinking, like, you have the possibility of them still living, but they're going to die in your hands.
That's just weird that he would have left them alive and then called the police right after, like, not waited.
Yeah, but that's what I'm thinking, like, he wanted to tease them more. It's like, I killed them, but I gave you the chance to save them, but you couldn't.
Wild. If you ever see anybody looking like a sketch, I don't know.
San Francisco people, watch your backs.
Yeah. So
Truth.
those are our stories.
So, like, subscribe, and then add a story in the comments so that we can read about them and talk about them in the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I hope you enjoyed our stories, and we will see you next Monday. Bye!